Hello, we are Geeks Assembled, and we are a group what likes discussing movies, TV, audio dramas, anything what's entertainment-wise, what you'd like to call geek. It's anything we like. And I'm joined today by Susan and Ethan. We're discussing a 1996 Michael Bay movie. Yes, I said that word, Michael Bay, starring Sean Connery, Nicolas Cage, Ed Harris. And sort of a cameo as well by Michael Biehn. We are talking The Rock. It's an all-out action movie. It's what should we say? It's chemical warfare, terrorism, all on Alcatraz. So, without further ado, we'll go to opening thoughts between my two friends here. I'm going to save Susan to last. I'll go to Ethan, and then we'll go to Susan. Over to Ethan. Opening thoughts, Ethan.
Hey guys. Yeah, as you said, yeah, it's a Michael Bay film, but I do really like this one a lot, actually. I do like this film a lot. It reminds me so much of my dad. Like, we used to watch films back in the 90s, all these action films, and you don't get action movies like this anymore, like proper action movies of the late 80s and 90s. And I do have vivid memories of watching this with my dad, and I loved it then, and I love it now. I haven't seen this for a long time, actually. So, as you said, you got Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery, who's literally my favorite in it. Anything he does is brilliant, but I think this is one of his best roles. He's so good in it. He's so good. And Ed Harris plays a pretty good villain, and you've got some great other actors in this. But yeah, as you said, it's all about these rogue soldiers who abduct Alcatraz. They take over Alcatraz, take all these hostages, and are ready to shoot off this nerve gas, this sort of powerful chemical, which is a nerve thing that melts your skin and just is horrible. And they're ready to shoot out, destroy San Francisco and other places. And of course, Nicolas Cage's character is brought in, and they bring in Sean Connery, who is the only man to have escaped Alcatraz, the one man, but he doesn't exist because they don't want the world to know that one guy managed to break out of Alcatraz, knows all the routes and everything. So they bring him in, and like I said, he's played brilliantly by Sean Connery. He's just great in this. And they need his help to break in to Alcatraz, and you have some great action scenes and some typical over-the-top ones, particularly with a certain chase scene that just gets more and more chaotic. And you can't help but laugh at it, but it is great. And there's some great fight scenes in it as well. It's just a fun 90s action movie. And that's what I love about it. I love movies like this because it does take me back to the 90s where they were just enjoyable. They're just, you don't need a super IQ to understand it. It's a simple story, but it's just good fun, and I do like it a lot. So yeah, those are my opening thoughts. Good choice of a movie. I enjoyed watching it. Brought back a lot of memories.
Thank you, Ethan. Well, it wasn't a choice; it was randomly picked.
All right, okay, randomly picked. Well, great random picked one.
Picked with the movie lotto. It's over to Susan now for her opening thoughts. Over to you.
All right. I thought you'd save me for after you went because
No.
I was going to argue with both of you.
You will anyway.
As it stands right now, I only have Ethan to argue with. I think it's a cheesy movie. I think it's super cheesy because, first of all, it's set on Alcatraz, and it's Alcatraz. Has its own mythos, and it was inhabited by the Native American, the American Indian Movement (AIM) in the 70s, and they were, they were considered a threat to the rest of the United States because of their ideology. And this one, of course, it's Michael Bay, so of course it has to do with chemical warfare and explosions. And so, boy, and then there's Ed Harris playing a rough and tumble guy with a limited emotional range, and then there's Nicolas Cage, who is his emotional range is over the top. I mean, he's acting.
Is that what it's called?
And then there's Sean Connery, and this, I do love Sean Connery, but this is definitely not his best role, Ethan. I beg to differ.
I never said it was his best role, did I? I never said it was his best role. It was one of his good roles because he just plays a good action hero. Is it cheesy? Of course it's cheesy. It can
All
be
right. But I thought you said that it was his best role. And
no, it's definitely not his
I was
best role.
like-
It's not his best role. I said it was one of his best,
All right,
one of his good roles, but there are better roles than that.
Right, okay.
But it's a great role he does because it's Sean Connery.
Well, because it's Sean Connery, it's okay, but this is still like, all of the other ones that he's done, including Highland and everything else, they all like are up there. And
Oh yeah, James Bond and Ramirez are his best roles.
Yeah,
Ramirez in Highlander.
And so
And Draco
I
the
don't
Dragon.
know. I mean, the difficulty I have with this is that it's not once it gets going, it's not really a threat. It's just like you know that San Francisco survives because it's Michael Bay tried to set it in the real world. He tried to utilize like the stuff. I don't know who wrote it, but they tried to use the real stuff. And so, it's the threat was, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, and there were plenty of explosions, cars that you hit with a gun don't explode and stuff like that. And then the ones that and then like it was, if you know the geography of San Francisco, they're on one side of Golden Gate Park at one moment, and then they're on the other side of the moment when they turn the corner. And then they're downtown and down on Fulton Street in the Mission District. So they're like all over the place in one scene. And you're like, dude, this doesn't make any sense. For someone who's spent a lot of time in San Francisco, it doesn't make any sense geographically. But not everybody spent as much time in the city as I have. I've spent many days there. So anyway, I don't know. It's abrupt that way. And then and I toured Alcatraz one time, and what they showed, they never showed us. So I don't know. I guess willingly suspend your disbelief. I suppose that's what all this requires. It not only suspend it, but like actually hand it over to them, because they're pointing a gun with a nuclear chemical weapon at you, and so here's the disbelief, I suppose. Anyway, so that's what I think of The Rock. It's super cheesy and stuff like that. So back over to you, Lee.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, I agree. It's cheesy. Most of Nicolas Cage's movies are cheesy these days. He did start off well in his career. Michael Bay, yeah, you've said it all about Michael Bay movies. I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed Sean Connery in this. I mean, it's not a role what pushed him, shall we say, in his acting abilities. And I've just been looking on the back of the DVD. I didn't realise he was one of the executive producers on this. I just saw his name there. But just to clarify, the budget for this movie was $75 million. And it grossed $355 million. So it was a big blockbuster. It was in the top 5 movies of that year, of 96. For a 1996 movie, for me, it felt quite 80s. I don't know why. There was an 80s feel about it. I mean, you can, watching these movies, sometimes you say, yeah, that's definitely 90s. You can feel the 90s come through the screen at you, but there was 80s coming from it. I don't know why.
I was going to say, you're not the only one. I actually felt that as well, actually. There seems to be moments, like sometimes it feels like a 90s, but there was a lot of it that does feel 80s action movie. There's something about it.
Yeah, I can't put my finger on it why, but it just felt like I was watching an 80s action movie for some reason. Yeah, Alcatraz, I suppose it's a setting what hasn't been used a lot in movies for these sort of movies. It was good to see Ed Harris and Michael Biehn back together again after being in the other movie we reviewed last year, The Abyss. Swapping roles this time, one goodie, one baddie. It's just it's a fun action movie. Some of the scenes, I agree with Susan, some of the scenes are just over the top and really unbelievable. I mean, for me, you've mentioned the car chase scene on the streets of San Francisco. No sign of Karl Malden or Michael Douglas anywhere. But was that the best car chase scene in San Francisco? No. Check out the movie Bullet.
Bullet!
Yeah, Bullet's brilliant. That is a fantastic. Now that's a chase. That's a real chase.
Put that on our list and see
you,
if it gets.
You Brits, you tend to love things with Steve McQueen in them, though. I just FYI.
Yeah, yeah. I would say Bullet is one of the greatest car chase movies.
That is one of the greatest, if not the greatest.
Yeah. The idea of chemical warfare, terrorism, it was sort of fairly new. This was back in the mid-90s. This was a fairly new threat, wasn't it, of warfare? I mean, okay, back in the days of the Second World War, First World, there was mustard gas, but nobody really knew anything about what chemical warfare could do. And this took the idea of these little, what do you call them, baubles, little green baubles of whatever was in this. If it ever got out, as Ethan says, your skin would melt. Just erode your skin. So I like the way they used that. And Nicolas Cage, well, yeah.
It's Nicolas Cage.
The trouble is with Nicolas Cage, it's hit and miss with Nicolas Cage. Sometimes you can sit down and watch a movie and you think, God, that's a damn good movie, and he's done pretty well in that. And sometimes you think it's so over the top. You just don't know what you're going to get with Nicolas Cage. But yeah, that's my opening thoughts on this. So, shall we go favourite moments or things what you weren't so keen on? We'll go back to Susan, shall we?
Yeah. So I really liked the things that I liked were the pretty chemical weapon with the strings of iridescent material. I've been watching a lot of superhero movies with people, especially Black Light or television shows with Black Lightning with his with everybody with the green light, and so that was really interesting. And the question of whether or not it it came from Vietnam, and all these soldiers came from Vietnam and all that, and or Southeast Asia. That was interesting, but yeah, I mean the cast the cast was great. Like it had Willie Garson in it. It had um, it had uh, Claire Forlani, who's in a lot of cool things that I like, and Steve Harris, and then there was Tony Todd, Tony Todd played the one who almost mutinied with Commander,
Yeah. Candyman.
yeah, Candyman, or General Hummel.
Mm.
He stood up to Hummel, and that was, you know, that was a really tense scene actually. So I really liked that scene, that the shower room scene. That was, you know, quite a great piece of movie, and then like there was David Morse and William Forsythe and Michael Bean, as Lee said, and um, John McGinley and stuff. And so I mean, like the cast was, oh, John Spencer too. Um, yeah, there were lots of classic or really cool actors in it. Yeah, things that I didn't like. The I didn't like the car chase scene. I because of the geography of it, it didn't, you know. Anyway, and then I didn't like the scene where uh, where he lets where he lets Mason go and said that he was vaporized, and the other guy goes, vaporized? People do that? I was like, you know, you threw a bomb at the place. Of course, people get vaporized in bombs. Brah, don't you do you even World War II, brah? And so, like, anyway, I was just like, what the heck? And let's see. Um, Other things I don't like. I didn't like I didn't like the scene in. I didn't like the fact. Okay, I didn't like the scene where his girlfriend is trying to get into the middle of the, what you call it, the army base, the FBI center, whatever. Because I mean, you know, it would have been better had she tried to go, like, rent a boat and go to Alcatraz herself. You know, that would have been a much more intense thing. And there's pant loads of freaking boats in the San Francisco Bay. Anyway, just take a breath, Susie. And the other thing is, why were there only two women in the whole freaking movie? I mean, it was just boy. It was boys, just nothing but boys. Anyway, so not that I don't love men, but oh my god. Anyway, they could have had a woman squatty or something. I don't know. This isn't the night. See, that's why I think it felt like the 80s, because it was so gender, single gender. It was all men, all cis men, and they were all just doing their thing. And that, anyway. So as a feminist, I just was like, what? Anyway, I'm gonna put this down now and send it back to Lee.
Oh, yeah. Well, Susan's not going to like what I'm going to say, but over to you, Ethan.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, like you said, I mean, it does have. I don't know what. I never really like to say cheesy, because sometimes cheesy can be a bit like a bit of a bad one. Camp. Maybe I might use camp. I might use camp because at least it's enjoyable. So I used camp. So it does have a bit of a camp 90s feel to it. My favorite moments. I do love the introduction of Sean Connery's character, Mason, when he's got the long hair and he's got the handcuffs. And I do love that whole scene. And I love do love that bit when he stomps on the coin and he does the big thing around the mirror and just goes whoosh, and he just looks in. I do love that bit. Just like, there was always something about that. I thought, yeah, he's going to get pretty vicious, but I do like that bit. And I like the whole, I mean, it sort of starts off quite grounded. You think, oh, it's going to be quite grounded and realistic. But then, of course, it does get very over the top, like the hotel bit. You can't help but laugh and enjoy it, really. That's the thing. It gets that over the top. Mm-hmm. You can't help but laugh and just sit back and enjoy, just go, okay, just do whatever. So Sean Connery, like I said, I love the hotel bit. When he throws the guy over with the rope and stuff like that, he makes his escape. And you can't help but laugh with the hairdresser guy. Please don't kill me. I just want to know, do you like my haircut? Well, do you like your haircut? And Sean Connery's like, oh, for fuck's sake. But and it, like I said, it just gets more and more over the top. You know, this car chase, big explosions and stuff like that. And then you've got the tram with the guy going, save yourselves. It just, and then it's the flying tram and stuff. It just does get over the top, but you can't help but enjoy it and just go, okay, all right. Susan's already mentioned the tent scene at the end with the villains when there becomes a mutiny. That is actually a very good scene. That's a very good scene. I do love the whole underground bit where they start having a big fight and they go on the carriage, the little cart. And of course, they go through all the tunnels and stuff like that. And they have the big fight with what's his name? John MC Guiney, is it? He's is it? Hold on, I'm looking him up. He plays
John McGinley.
That's it, John C. McGinley from Scrubs. I do love that whole bit with the underground cart bit. And that is, again, it's just like, when I was watching it again, actually, I could imagine this like back then, it would have, if that whole scene could have been used like for a Universal ride or something, you know, ride at Universal Studios. But because they have all those big fancy special effect rides. It kind of reminded me of that, but it was good. I do love how, like the end, like how some of the villains get killed. They get some really good over the top deaths. They are so good. I love it. That was what I loved about the 90s films. You got some great over the top deaths, but deserving ones for the bad guys. You know, like I said, you get one guy being shot out by the rocket and then he gets impaled. Brilliant. And then the one with the chain, like throws the chain down the well, cracks his neck and stuff. And of course, but the best death in it is the last villain when Nicolas Cage, typical 90s, and Nicolas Cage just shoves the ball into his mouth and he says something like, eat this motherfucker, and it just cracks and it just goes, blows his whole face up basically and melts it. Brilliant. I mean, that's just like, I love over the top deaths because you're like, yes. But one little scene I like, I do love the wee little scene like where Sean Connery, Mason finds his daughter. They just have that one bit of the breather bit where they just sit down and talk to each other, and then all the cars come in and Nicolas Cage doing his over the top acting. You're like, my jaw hurts. Good. But trying to think of other. I don't think there's any bits that I didn't like. Like I said, it's just a fun adventure action movie. So I think I would say those are my favorite scenes actually. I mean, there's quite a few, but those are my favorite ones. So over to you guys.
Right. Okay. Oh, what have you left me with then? Well, Ed Harris's character, General. Yeah, okay, he was the one who organised all this terrorist, the hostage situation. But as you know, through the movie, he wasn't going to intend to go through with it at the end. And you don't know that until the end. But at the beginning of the movie, his character shows a bit of compassion, telling those little girls to get back on the boat because he didn't want them there. So, so he had a bit of compassion there at the beginning of the movie. That was a good, nice little scene. The scene with them sort of mutiny in the ranks was brilliantly done. Now, this is going to upset Susan. Because Susan said, I agree with what Susan says. There was only 2 women characters in this. There should have been more, but I don't think Nicolas Cage's girlfriend was really needed in the movie, because you already had Sean Connery's daughter, who was under the same threat from the terrorist attack. You know what I mean? And I agree with Susan, the woman's attempt to get into the base, get into this and that, the other. Why? It just wasn't. If you'd have cut all that out, it wouldn't have made much difference to the movie. You didn't need that. But I agree, there should have been more female characters in it, but I don't think Nicolas Cage's girlfriend was warranted, to be honest. Yeah, and that's the feminist in me. So, but I agree with Ethan. The gruesome, the deaths, if they're more gruesome, the better. Death by missile, bye Tony Todd, straight out the window at the end of a missile. That was just so over the top brilliant. And you said death by big green marble in the mouth, brilliant. I mean, the effects in it were brilliant. The makeup effect on the faces was bubbling away and just amazing. It's I wouldn't say it's a classic award-winning movie. It's just a fun movie where you can sit down, kick your shoes off, and while away an hour and a half to 2 hours of nonsense, really. The San Francisco scenes was a bit over the top with the tram. A bit over the top. That was yeah. And the guy got out of it unscathed because he was standing behind that steering wheel. He was still there. He got out now. Sorry, Michael Bay again. But it's just it's a fun, enjoyable movie, but it has got its little niggles. So, shall we go to final scene score? Okay, Ethan.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just can't get out of my head that bit. Just like, wow, you must be really strong to survive that, mate. But as you said, yeah, it's not one of the best, but it is a great action movie. If you just want to sit back and enjoy yourself, just something easy to watch. I mean, yeah, it's bombastic. It can be a bit camp and just some bits you just go, really? But it's a fun movie. And like I said, it does bring back memories of watching it with my dad. So I would probably give it an 8 out of 10. An 8 out of 10, to be honest, because I do enjoy it. And I do like going to these films and watching them and going, oh, yeah, I remember that from my childhood or my younger days and stuff. So, yeah, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. It's not one of the best, but it is a good, fun movie. So 8 out of 10 for a great 90s movie.
Thank you, Ethan. Susan.
Well, I don't usually go this low, but I'm going to give it a 6. Because
6 isn't that bad. Could have been lower.
It's just, there's just so much ado about nothing here, and but if I had watched it with my dad, Ethan, I probably would give it a lot higher score too. Those movies that you see with your dad, that's the stuff. So yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying, and I appreciate your family movie watching time. That's really sweet. So yeah, I guess that's what I have to say.
I used to watch loads of things with my dad, which I probably shouldn't have watched, but it was great when my mum would go to work. Bye, bye. Eva, come on, let's watch this. Okay.
I wish my dad was like that because he never watched any movie with me. Anyway, enough of my dad. I don't like talking about him. So what shall I give this? I'm going to give it an 8 as well. As I say, it's enjoyable. It's action adventure. It's you don't need to be intellectual to watch this. It's just a fun while away, a 90 minutes movie. So that's what I'm going to say. 8. It's because it's the effects in this are brilliant. It's makeups, the special effects and that lot are brilliant. And it's Sean Connery. Yeah, it didn't push him, but it's Sean Connery. You know what I mean? It was just Sean Connery being Sean Connery, or otherwise being James Bond, because that's what most of the action was. It was James Bond. So that's my final say on that.
Retired James Bond.
Yeah, I mean
Well,
the scenes
retired James Bond coming back.
Yeah, I mean the scenes where he was throwing people over the balconies, going rushing, escaping through the hotel, jumping in the car and all that. It was just James Bond. So yeah, so I'd like to thank Susan and Ethan for discussing The Rock. You guys out there haven't seen it, check it out. You may like it, you may dislike it. Let us know. Leave a comment below. And leaving comments below, that means, please, we're on YouTube. So if you don't subscribe to our channel and you've come across this by mistake, or you've been drunk and you just wandered on and just thought, oh, I'll watch that. Won't fool you. But please subscribe to us. And if you want to be notified when we put up a new video, press the bell notification. You get a little ding every time we put one up. And I put several up a week, and depends what order I put them up in, because this one usually annoys Craig, because I know he's listening. But he's still waiting for a video, a review we did a few weeks ago, and I am still not put it up yet, but I will do when I feel like it. So please, and if you want to be on the casts, contact us. Facebook, Twitter, I say YouTube, got Instagram as well. Just leave us a message and we'll try and get you on. So without further ado, we'll say bye-bye for now. Be safe, and remember, don't play with me sounds.